So you're telling me waking up is worth more than $1 million to you? And I started realizing that, like, it actually is. Not only is it worth more than $1 million, it's actually worth more than $100 million. Because you couldn't pay me $100 million to make this my last day. Mm-hmm. You couldn't give me $1 billion and say, Brad, I'll give you $1 billion. Your family will be set, but it's your last day. Mm-hmm. Pass. I would not take it. And most people wouldn't. Well, then why don't you act that way every day you wake up? I am Brad Lee, entrepreneur, father, madman, and you are on Behind the Brand with Bryan Elliott.
Welcome to another episode of the show. Brad, thanks for having us to Dropping Bombs headquarters here in Vegas.
Thank you for coming.
I usually ask my guests, how did you get this job?
This one?
Yeah.
I created it.
Unpack that. Tell me the journey. Let's go back in the chronology a little bit. Like, how did this all get started? Tell the story.
Well, it depends on when you say all this. Because right now you are located in Las Vegas, Nevada at my world headquarters for what's called Lightspeed VT.
Okay.
That's a web-based interactive training software that was developed over 20 years ago. And we've perfected it over the last 20 years. And so I created that company, which is when you say, how'd you get this position? Well, this is my podcast. And I created this basically from being involved with Lightspeed. Lightspeed is the software that a lot of these large name gurus use. Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, Damon John, all the people you were naming earlier. A lot of them that you've never heard of as well. So companies, they use it to train, educate, track, measure content, etc. So I had access to a lot of experts. And so when it came to the podcast, I thought to myself, because my mission in life is to get the knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it.
Mm-hmm. We're cut from the same cloth that way.
Because I think people fail because they don't have the right information. Yeah. So it's not like they want to fail. People want to win. People want to feel like winners. Problem is a lot of people don't have the right information. So my mission was to, use Lightspeed to get the knowledge out, right? And it started, blowing up. And so I thought, man, I should start a podcast while these guys are in the studio filming their content. And I'll start a podcast and just throw them down and get them on a microphone outside of courseware, mm-hmm. outside of their professional appearance and spiel, mm-hmm. so to speak. And let's just keep it real. And so that's this position. So when you say, how'd you get this position? I created the podcast, but the position I feel when you say this position, I'm the CEO of Lightspeed VT. Yeah. And I created the company out of necessity for myself. And it kind of blew up. And now 20 years later, that's how I'm the CEO. If I wasn't the founder, I probably wouldn't be the CEO. Someone would have fired me a long time ago.
Relatable. Very relatable. Let's go back in the chronology, back to young Brad. What did you want to be when you grew up? Where did you grow up, by the way?
I grew up in Oregon, small town in Oregon.
Okay.
I either wanted to be a cop or a movie star.
Say more.
Yeah, that was it. So I was going to be a police officer, because I always thought that'd be the coolest job ever. And
what's so cool about that job?
Just, you have a badge, authority. I don't know. It just seems cool. Mm-hmm. Always has.
It's important. It's an important position, noble profession,
Yeah. They protect, or supposedly,
yeah.
The good ones, most
serve
of them.
Serve and protect. That's their motto. Yeah.
They serve, protect, they've got authority, you have to respect them. Or you should at least. But I just always wanted to be a cop. There was no other reason. None of my family were in the law enforcement. So
what'd your parents do?
My dad was kind of a mill worker.
Okay. He's up in Oregon.
Yeah. And my mom was what's called a typesetter. Mm-hmm. You know what a typesetter is?
Sure.
Or was. They don't probably use those anymore.
Yeah, it's old school, right? Printing.
Newspaper type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they did that. We were kind of blue collar. We weren't broke, but to me it was normal. A lot of people when they hear stories about it, oh wow, you were broke. Not really. Like, we had food, we had Christmas presents, we survived. Like it was normal to me.
Mm-hmm. Did you get an idea early on that you were good at something in particular? I mean, so you had these kind of two aspirations, just like maybe any kid that wants to play pro ball or they want to, be an astronaut, whatever. But like, did you have signals early on that you were good at sales?
Yeah, two signals: sales and acting.
Okay.
I was in a theater about 6-7 years old.
Okay.
And I played the starring role in a play, and the producer of the play and an acting coach, actually, her name was Alice Corey. Well, she was married to a guy named Wendell Corey, and if you look him up, he's an old-time movie star. And she was a really old lady back then, too, when I was young, so she's probably gone now. But anyway, she put me in a play and was, just said, pumping me up, you got the skills, you could be a movie star. So, I went and auditioned for a role in a few things, got the bug and wanted to be a movie star. Mm-hmm. But the sales I knew I was good at, because when I was in first grade, they gave me a box of candy bars to go sell door to door. Mm-hmm. And my dad would never really help. My dad was kind of children should be seen and not heard. Okay. He didn't really talk much to us. It was almost like he made sure we didn't die. He was there. Yeah. But it wasn't like, my little man, come on, buddy, let me teach you some things.
Yeah. Typical of that generation, though.
Yeah. Yeah. But they gave me a box of candy bars, and I had no choice but to go out and knock on doors because my family wasn't going to buy any, and my brothers ate half of them, and I was responsible for them.
Right.
So I went and started knocking on doors, and after, 5-10 houses, I realized I need to come up with some sort of pitch. And so I put the candy bars behind my back, and I asked the homeowner if they knew a good roof repairman. When I knock on the door and there's this little kid asking, do you know anybody that repairs roofs? Do you have the number to a good roof repairman? They'd go, what? They were confused. And then I pulled out the candy bars and I say, because when you taste one of these, you're going to go through the roof. And they started buying box after box after box. Other kids were selling singles. I was selling boxes at a time.
That's amazing.
And I sold more candy bars than everybody. They gave me all the candy bars the other kids in all the other classes couldn't sell. I sold out the school in candy bars, which has never been done. I don't think it's been done since. But I sold every single candy bar the school was shipped with that pitch, knocking on doors. But I didn't realize, hey, I'm a great salesperson. I was too young. I just happened to be. And again, people say, well, did your dad teach you that? Who taught you that? I just developed it.
Yeah.
So I knew I had those skills. And then I also would get $2 for lunch money. And I would stop off at this little red store on the way to the school, and I would buy Bubble Yum, and Bubblicious. They were 20 cents a pack. There were 5 pieces in each pack.
Sure, yeah, I remember it well.
Yeah, and I would buy all the bubble gum, and I'd go sell them for $0.25 a piece.
Okay.
And kids would give me $0.25 a piece. So I'd come home with way more money. So I was entrepreneurial from the get-go.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize it. And, all my family was kind of blue-collar, low income. So they kept telling me to get a real job when I was starting to get older. I'm thinking, I want to maybe be a movie star. Oh, you're not going to make that. No one was supportive or encouraging, by the way.
Yeah. I mean, makes sense. It's like saying, I want to be in the NBA. Okay. There's limits. It's a numbers game.
Yeah. So they were advising me to get a real job. So I got a job with the Forest Service for one summer, okay. Or not summer.
Did you go to college?
No.
Okay. High school?
Dropped out 11th grade.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
A lot of people, are amazed now because I have a couple PhDs, a couple MBAs, a couple bachelors, and they're like, what? How'd you get those? I said, I hired them. Because you don't need a degree if you can hire one, right?
That's right.
So I dropped out of high school in the 11th grade, believe it or not, to run off to be a movie star, and then just never went back.
Did you come out to California, or?
I went to California.
Uh-huh. And what age were you?
17.
Okay, wow. And how long did you give it a go?
I went out there a couple times, but the first time, I'd say a month and a half, 2 months.
Okay. 3
months maybe.
Okay. And then where'd you go from there? Once you decided that wasn't going to get you where you wanted to go?
Well, I got a role I got a starring role in a movie and the producer was Mark Rydell. He did On Golden Pond, and he had a son named Chris Rydell, and he got out of a drug rehab, and as a reward got my part in the movie. And I'm like, how does this work? And so they explained what nepotism was and how it works in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And I said, so the person with the money gets to decide. They said, yeah, I mean, that's who's paying for the movie, and that's who's paying for the movie. So I said, I'll tell you what, let me go become a millionaire real quick. I'll be back.
Yeah, light bulb moment.
Yeah, and I thought I'll just go be a millionaire real quick and come back and pay for the movie, and then I'll decide who's in it, and I'll be in it. but I didn't know it'd take forever. And it took, 30 years. So didn't ever do the acting. Of course, I'm not done. I am going to go make a movie one of these days. I'll fund it. I'll be in it. And we'll see what the market thinks. If all of a sudden they want me in other movies and other companies are sending me scripts, well, then I did a good job.
Yeah. If
everyone says, who's this guy? Who put this guy in the movie? What's this clown? Well, then I got a good souvenir.
Yeah. Well, that's a Stallone model too, right?
Yeah, hey, I'm going to do it. But and only because it's been my whole lifelong thing. When I was young, I gave it a go for a little bit. But long story short, I kept getting pressure to get a real job. So I went and got this forest fire fighting job. And it sounded, rugged and cool. And I ran around bragging about it and saying, I'm going to be like I pictured myself in a, flannel shirt and, wolf by my side, out there saving eagle eggs. But, I got up there and it was not what I thought it was. And they put this big water pouch on my back and told me to squirt the stumps that were smoldering on the side of the mountains, up and down the sides of the mountains. You were getting poked in the eye and all kinds of crap.
Yeah. So that didn't work out.
No.
So where'd you go from there?
So then I got a job selling cars.
At a dealership, traditional dealership?
Just regular Williams, Wilson, Pontiac, Volkswagen.
And did you?
I crushed it.
Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah, I mean, I walked in there and, most people were kind of lazy. I spent 15 years in that business, so I learned every position. And looking back, it was easy to see what they were. They were called floor whores. And basically, they just hung out and waited for customers. They were lazy.
Yeah.
And so I'm a young kid, and I'm not lazy. So I was out there greeting the customer as they're getting out of their car. I was hustling. And selling cars isn't difficult because people are coming to the car lot to look for one. All you have to do is be nice and show it to them.
Yeah, it's a qualified lead. They're already there. It's like, they're in the funnel.
Yeah, people are like, oh, man, that's hard. They're not coming for a bag of oranges and you got to talk them into a car. They're coming for a car.
Yeah.
And just so happens you have hundreds of them on the lot, which is kind of entrepreneurial if you think about it, because I'd show up with a pen and someone else was buying all the cars and paying for the lights and paying for the ads and doing everything. And I was like a little independent entrepreneur on the lot. So they gave me a free car to drive. It was unbelievable. I was in heaven. So I stuck with that for a while. I just started selling cars, making more money than anyone in my family, selling cars.
I feel like there's a metaphor there of not seeing the opportunity for what it is. I mean, you had the same set of eyes as those other salespeople, right? But you saw the opportunity differently. And so what was the difference? Was it like you just had more initiative, or you had this go-getter mentality, or you realized that there's already purchase intent and that they were midway in the funnel and that they just need a little bit of guidance to know which model, or what was it? What do you think?
I don't know. Back then, I probably didn't realize anything. I was just excited that I wasn't in the forest getting poison oak and breathing in smoke and walking up and down hills.
Well, you could also be create your own destiny with sales, right? It's a commission-based deal, so there's no cap or ceiling on what you could make, right?
100%.
Yeah.
So when I showed up there, and I started doing extremely well, I got to wear a suit and cologne and it was unbelievable. And they gave me a free car to drive.
Yeah, you're a big shot.
Yeah. So I'm like, dude, this is the coolest job on planet Earth. I can't believe everyone doesn't want to do this.
Yeah.
And I was very good at it. Then I got even better at it. And then ended up running car dealerships. And so eventually I saw this kid in the back that was a lot porter for me. And I said, hey, let me teach you how to sell so you can make more money, because he wasn't making much money. So I showed him how to make a bunch of money. Changed his whole life. And I thought that felt good. So I wanted to do that for more people. And that's why I started Lightspeed.
Yeah. What was it, do you think, that made your sales technique so superior? When you're in first grade, you were probably a cute little kid and you come up with this clever one-liner and people probably just melted in front of you. But now you're a grown adult, you're a young man. What was it that made all the difference? How are you doing so much better than everyone else? Well,
number one, hustle, work ethic, but realistically, humor. I was a little humorous.
So you were approachable. You weren't the serious guy.
Yeah. I mean, I threw humor in there, but realistically, I was looking to help people.
Okay.
And other people were looking to sell people.
Yeah.
And there's a different vibration attached to each one of those.
Yeah.
So my vibration as I approached customers probably was accepted a little bit more than someone that was trying to sell you something.
Yeah. I just talked about this in another piece that we shot. But the first thing that you said to me, basically, as we were talking off camera, is, how can I help? And I just want to underscore this because I think it's an important point. People ask me to do stuff all the time. I get pitched a lot, whatever it is, I get asked to do stuff. And I'm always surprised at almost never people ask me that question. Almost never, Brad. They never ask, what do you need or how can I help? It's always like, well, here's what I need and here's what I need you to do. But I'm impressed that was like your first statement. Is that natural? Does it just come natural?
I think that's just innate. But I do think that is an advantage of mine. And I teach people how to sell clothes and persuade people. And people are always like, persuade. Like, why do you think that's so evil to have the power to get someone to see things your way? Like, to me, it's a superpower. It's an asset. Mm-hmm. When they say, how do you do it? Well, the first thing I teach them is to stop trying to sell someone and just try to help someone.
Yeah.
That's all. Like, I need to help you find a car. I need to help you buy a house. I need to help you.
Yeah. What do you need?
Yeah. How can I help you? And then, I'm more concerned about helping others, which coincidentally, Zig Ziglar was one of the clients I mentioned. Mm-hmm. I may not have mentioned him, but he was one of my clients. He says the best way to get what you want is to help others get what they want. Right. And I didn't really understand it when he told me that, but now it's like, exactly. If you want to make $1 million, you just got to solve 1 million problems. Mm-hmm. So if you look to solve problems and help people, that's when your, likelihood of success accelerates and exponentially increases because of, I call it a universal law. I don't know, karmic, who knows? But all I do know is if you stop trying to figure out how to make money and start trying to figure out how to help people, you'll end up making money.
Yeah, the money or the fame or the respect, that's a function of the service, right? It's a result. It's not the goal.
My goal is to help people.
Yeah.
And I try to pound that into everybody's head that comes to me because I'm trying to help them understand how to be more influential, how to be more persuasive, and I think it's, again, we have vibrations. Everything does, obviously. And the frequencies that we have will tell somebody, they'll give them a sense or not. Hey, this guy seems sleazy. This guy seems like he wants me to buy something. So defenses go up.
Right.
If you can just switch that to where, look, I don't want to sell you anything. I just want to help you solve a problem. So what's your problem? How can I help you? Mm-hmm. And then when you were talking earlier, the reason I asked you, well, how can I help you? Because, you're going to interview me and throw me on some, website, I assume, maybe even in a magazine, who knows? So how can I help you? Because that helps me. So how can I help you?
Yeah.
And I'm always curious because if I can help you more and more and more, what do you think you're going to want to do for me?
Yeah.
And when someone says, what do you think of Brad Lee? You're going to be like, dude, that guy's freaking unbelievable.
Yeah.
I love that guy. Yeah. And again, this is what I mean by karma. It just keeps coming around. So it sounds a little cliche, but it's true.
No, again, I'm just so blown away how, there's givers and takers in this world, right? And how many people are just thinking about themselves and thinking about taking before they're thinking about giving, or even reciprocity, right? It's like, how can we help each other? Yeah, no, I love that attitude. We're cut from that same cloth. Okay, so you got good at sales. You're selling a bunch of cars. Then you probably rose through the ranks. Maybe you're running the place. You stayed there in that industry for 15 years. Wow. Yeah. Where'd you go from there?
Lightspeed.
Okay. So you jumped off and you started something new. You became a business owner for the first time.
Well, I tried stuff here and there before in my past, but nothing ever stuck.
Okay. So Lightspeed was your first official venture.
Let's call it a winner.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right out of the gate, you had some success.
Well, it wasn't right out of the gate. It took about 8 years, but here's what happened. So I helped a lot porter that was working for me, and I watched him and his family change, just going from minimum wage to like 15 grand a month.
Yeah.
And I know that I've got the power to show people how to make 15, 20 grand a month all day long, even selling cars, let alone houses and other things where you can even make more. Like now I'm showing people how to make $500,000. Like I can show anyone how to make $500,000 if they just do what I tell them. Mm-hmm. $500,000 a year. People are like, oh, come on, Brad. pay attention. I'm telling you, I can.
Yeah.
So it made me feel good, basically.
Yeah.
To help this guy, because he was such a good dude and his wife was so nice and his kids were so humble and nice, and it was just a nice family. And as soon as I basically showed them how to make some money, they flourished and they got even nicer and even better. And so I thought, man, I want to do this for a living. So I quit my job and started a training company.
Mm-hmm. Was that difficult to do, to cut the cord from, sort of,
No.
security?
No.
Did you have money in the bank at the time?
No money in the bank, child support due, everything you would go against, you should have quit your job.
So give us some context about what year was this?
2000.
Okay. So.
It was actually 1999, almost 2000.
Okay.
Because I incorporated in 2000.
So the internet is about 3 years old.
Yeah, it just came out. The internet was just a thing. People were calling it a fad.
Yeah, and not everyone has a website. I remember at the time thinking, should I put my credit card into this computer? I don't know. It feels like it's going to, get hijacked. 1999. This is before, 9/11.
Before
no iPhone.
This is definitely no iPhone.
This is still dial-up internet.
Damn near.
Yeah, your website's loading like one block at a time.
Not that bad, but it was early.
Okay. And so in 1999, 2000, how old are you?
30.
So you're 30 years old. Okay. And you say you're divorced, paying child support.
Well, I wasn't actually divorced, but we were fighting a lot.
You were not together. Okay.
No, we were together. We just, arguing. I argued for 2 years trying to keep it together. And then one day she said something rude or bitchy like she does. And I said, we need to fix this. And she said, or what? And I said, well, we'll get divorced if we have to. And she said, you don't have the balls to divorce me. And I said, yeah. 3 days later, slapped her with a no contest divorce, said, you can have everything you want. All I want is Lightspeed, because I had started it and it technically was half hers. And she said, you sign off on the house that we just bought, and I'll sign off on your business. And I said, no problem. Boom. Signed off, gave her everything, kept obviously custody of my kids, or joint custody. And then got divorced a couple years after. But I owed child support when I quit my job. I wasn't behind on child support, but when I quit it, I didn't have much money in the bank to support me. I figured I will go live on what I sell. Mm-hmm. And how am I going to start a sales training company if I didn't know how to sell? So I was pretty confident that I can go out and get people to pay me to train their teams. I had a reputation. People knew me. It wasn't that difficult.
Yeah, I asked that with context because I think a lot of people struggle with timing. I mean, I struggled with it. I think I stayed at my job a little bit too long before I cut the cord. I started to see things happen when I was at the studios in 2003 and 4. 2004, Facebook, kind of launches. Things start to evolve into like digital. Then the next year, 2005, this little website launches called YouTube. And I was like, okay, a place where you can put up your content. And year after that, Google buys them in 2006. The year after that, 2007, the iPhone 1 comes out. And I was like, barriers to entry are dropping for gear. Gatekeepers are going away for content. This is an interesting time. But I was too afraid. I was still trying to stash money away and wasn't quite ready to jump out there. I didn't have the confidence that maybe you had to sell and bring in the business. It
may not have been confidence. It may have been limited mindset. You have a scarcity mindset, sounds like.
I did have a scarcity mindset, for sure. For sure.
I didn't. I realized I can produce money like it's going out of style. Like money is abundant.
Yeah. No, and the reason I had that, 2 reasons. One, because I was fat and happy at my job. Like I was used to getting a paycheck every 2 weeks. I was used to having the company limo pick me up or fly me out first class to New York, or walking these red carpet events. At home, I had a young family. My wife didn't work. We had 3 little kids at the time, and so I did have a scarcity mindset. So when you have that mindset, how do you change that? Is that like a flipping of the switch, or is that like a process? How do you do that?
Theoretically, it's flipping of a switch because it's pretty much a decision. You have to make a decision to intentionally, develop a mindset of abundance. Yeah. So you have to like intentionally say, okay, I'm not going to think like I used to.
Yeah.
So like one day I used to wake up and, I've got car payments, I've got child support, I've got bills, I've got payroll, I've got crap happening like you wouldn't believe. And I used to wake up.
I would believe it. I've been there.
Yeah. And I used to wake up and worry about it all the time.
Yeah.
Well, at some point I just said, I'm not going to worry about things unless, they're happening right now. So like, I'm not going to worry about payroll. That's 2 weeks from now.
Yes.
Why would I worry about payroll? I'll worry about payroll when it's due. Right now it's not due. So why worry about it? What should I be worried about? Well, whatever I can do now and whatever's important now is what matters. And so I started living in the now, which is massively important because most people are living in the future or they're living in the past. And so I just worry about right now. Yeah, and then that tells me, well, right now I need to get on the phone and start making some money. And so those problems, disappear with money. So really it's just an intentional decision to develop your mind. And that's what I started doing. And the craziest thing I developed was almost like a technique to create gratitude. And so I'd wake up and I put a sign on my wall that said, congratulations, you get another day. And I couldn't really figure this out because, if you think about it, if I handed you $1 million cash, said, dude, you can just have that for coming in, man. It's your lucky day. People can think about that and start getting, pumped up, enthusiastic. They're smiling. Bad news won't bother them. They just got $1 million cash, man. They're starting to think about what they can buy. They're relieved. But when we wake up in the morning, we don't feel all that enthusiasm. Now, why? Well, if you think you can't wake up or $1 million, which would you pick? I mean, I'm sorry. If I give you $1 million, you can't wake up. You want the million now? Of course not. Nobody does.
Right.
So you're telling me waking up is worth more than $1 million to you. And I started realizing that, like, it actually is. Not only is it worth more than $1 million, it's actually worth more than $100 million. Because you couldn't pay me $100 million to make this my last day. You couldn't give me $1 billion and say, Brad, I'll give you $1 billion. Your family will be set, but it's your last day. Pass. I would not take it. And most people wouldn't. Well, then why don't you act that way every day you wake up? So I started to trick myself by putting a sign on the wall that said, congratulations, you get another day. And every time I opened my eyes and I started thinking about, oh, dang, I got child support. And I looked at that and I said, dude, I get another day. And so my gratitude shifted my perspective to one of opportunity. Like now it's my opportunity to figure out how to pay rent, pay child support, catch up on this, catch up on that. It's an opportunity. See the difference? It's just a perspective change.
Yeah. I mean, I can hear the chatter from, in the comments, like easier said than done, blah, blah, blah. But
no, that's a limited mindset.
Right. And you're right. I've heard a lot of people talk about it, that worrying about things in the future, having anxiety about that's future stuff. It hasn't happened. It's almost like, most of the stuff we worry about seems like never comes to pass anyway.
Yeah, what they say is 92% of what you worry about never actually happens. But they also say 72% of statistics are made up on the spot.
It's true, though, and I will co-sign the idea that worrying about something that hasn't happened, that may or may not happen, is a waste of time. It's just stress and anxiety. And I can speak from experience because, that lives right in your gut, especially when you put yourself on the hook. You got people who are depending on you, whether it's a family or employees or whatever, you made commitments. That's not a good place to be, but I can see how changing the mindset is everything. Worrying about the past, that's regret, right? And you can't change the past either. You got to sort of live right in the present. That's the message I'm hearing. Yeah,
100% live in the now. I call it the now. Because like, if you think about when is now, is right now? Technically, no. As soon as you say the word now, it's gone. Yeah. Now is now.
Yeah.
Gone. Now, gone. Like right now in the present moment.
Yeah.
Right now. Not an hour from now, right now. Now, again, it's hard to operate there. But if you can operate there, I'm telling you, if I were given advice, I would say operate in the now and then remove all emotion when it comes to business. Like,
how do you do that?
that I'm still working on.
Yeah, teach me that, Brad.
Yeah, I haven't figured that one out yet, but I'm working on it because, at some point in time, if you can just look back at all the decisions you made when you screwed up and think about why'd you make that decision, 9 times out of 10, it's because of some sort of emotion.
Yeah.
Why didn't you fire that guy? Oh, he had kids and, well, why did you fire that guy? Well, he pissed me off. Like emotions always, made the worst possible outcome or the best possible outcome. Mm-hmm. But if you can remove emotion in your business decisions, you're going to be better off. Easier said than done, that one. I can't do it either.
Yeah.
I'm too nice. I'm too soft.
You're working on it.
I just want to come in and, at some point in time, just remove all emotion. Like, sit down with somebody and look, you're either producing or you're not producing. If you're not producing, we're going to let you go produce somewhere else so you can feel like a winner. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I don't. I think, oh my God, geez, is it my fault? Did I train them? Are they saying it right? Do I know what they're doing? Am I giving them the right tools? Let me give them another week. I know they can change. When in reality, I should just clip them, but I don't because I feel bad.
So what if we're that person and we're feeling like we're not performing or, making the quotas, the goals, whatever? Give some advice to that person. Again, I'm sort of asking for the advice I wish I had when I was thinking about leaving. How do you know when it's time to go?
Well, it's time to go, period. And if you're talking about quitting a job,
yeah.
Like to me, it's time to go right now.
You think everyone should quit their job and start their own thing, or? Absolutely.
People always say, well, Brad, you have employees. What if they hear you? Again, everyone's not cut out for risk, right? Everyone's not cut out to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I think totally 100% that it's totally okay to be an employee or someone else's. I'm just saying I wouldn't be. Why? Well, because I don't like being told what to do. I hate being told what to do.
Yeah.
I got kicked out of my house at 16 years old, which is why I dropped out of school. I got kicked out of my house because I didn't mow the lawn like I said I would. Yeah. But because he was telling me to do it. And I was like, don't tell me to do shit. I don't like being told what to do. So literally that immaturity cost me a home, but me costing my home, I believe, taught me how to survive and how to flourish in life. Because a lot of my friends, they went to college and did the whole college routine. Dude, they're average Joe Blows making $100,000 or less. Mm-hmm. And a lot of them want to come work for me. And I'm like, well, dude, I'm not looking for anyone with that kind of degree.
Yeah.
Can you sell something?
Yeah.
Hey, sell something, bro. And I need you. Why? Because, dude, everybody needs a good salesperson. And that could be a business. So if I'm working for somebody like a car dealership and I can sell cars, why am I so afraid that I can't go sell cars if I didn't have this dealership? Limited mindset. So a lot of people have a limited mindset. They have a huge aversion to risk there, and they don't have any confidence. So what do? They'll hang around or work for someone who does. Because I'm not afraid of risk. Doesn't scare me. What's the worst that can happen? I go broke, which I've been, and it's not that bad being broke.
Yeah.
Can you remember being broke?
Oh yeah. It
wasn't that bad.
It was pretty bad.
Not for me. Like food came.
Well, let me give you some context behind that. I felt guilty, and I was broke when I started my startup, and because I was not expecting the recession and the consequences of what happened. So when I left my job, my paycheck, it was a rude awakening. I had never experienced that before. I had all these clients lined up and projects and budgets in place, promises made to me. And then when the recession hit in 2008, by September of that year, that's about that same time that Lehman Brothers collapsed, everyone started dropping like flies. Budgets were like, pull back, and then it was zero. Clients were like, I'm out of work, I'm out of business, I just got let go. All of these things started happening, and all of a sudden I was in big trouble because I made these assumptions. I made these plans based on what was happening.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Did it work out?
It did work out.
It always does.
Well,
it always does.
So I can relate with what you're saying because the reason it was hell for me, I could live out of a cardboard box under the freeway, and our paths are different but similar. Like I got kicked out of my house when I was 16 too, because I was living with my step parents, my stepmom and my stepdad, and they didn't like the way I would, make toast and put crumbs on the counter. And they said, "You got to go." So I lived out in my car for a little while when I was 16. But I felt guilty for putting my family through hell. Like they got on this roller coaster with me, and it was just, some days it was like, kids, we got to wait till Saturday to buy milk and Cheerios because I got to go out and make some money. Or,
well, what were you doing home talking to your kids?
Well, this was like at night, before I tucked them into bed, and I was out hustling all the day. Believe me,
and you couldn't get milk and Cheerios figured out?
I didn't know where the money was going to come from. I had to.
You were worried about the future, weren't you?
I was.
See what I'm talking about?
Yeah. No.
You were doing what I said. I had to figure out how not to do that. And most people do that.
Yeah, no,
you weren't alone.
I'm guilty of the limited mindset and scarcity mindset for sure. But I'm just saying being broke at that time was hell. And it was not because I had to suffer, because the suffering I had was watching my family, or not being able to provide for my family the things that they were used to having, hey, can we go get some shoes? No, not right now. We got to put that on pause. I got to go out and hustle and make something happen. What do you got?
It's just killing me to not say anything.
No, give it to me.
Well, because again, if they say, can we go get some shoes? Absolutely, we can go get some shoes. Let's go figure out how to get some shoes.
Yeah.
Okay. And now here's how we get shoes. We have to come up with, what kind of shoes do you want? Oh, they're $120. Okay, we need to figure out how to come up with $120. Now what can we do to come up with $120?
Yeah.
You got any ideas? How about we mow some lawns? How about we pull some weeds? How about we figure out how to help other people figure out their problems and get paid for it, and then we go get the shoes?
Yeah.
You had an opportunity to teach them entrepreneur skills that would have lasted them their whole life.
It's true.
And by the way, you wouldn't have had that opportunity if you weren't broke. So again, it's a shift in perspective. Your perspective was, oh, I'm screwed. I should be giving them more. Instead of what was reality, which is you had time with your kids or you wouldn't be talking to them. So you're spending time with your kids. There's an opportunity to teach them entrepreneurial skills that they'll last forever.
Yeah.
See how different that view looks?
Yeah, I accept it. It's an important lesson to have learned then and to be reminded of now for sure. It just took me about, the last 10 years or so to kind of figure that stuff out. And I wish I had figured it out sooner. So,
well, how old are you?
What's that?
How old are you?
I'm about halfway done.
Well, again, it takes a while to figure it out. A lot of people look at me and they're like, dude, I can't believe you did this, you did that. It's like, dude, it took me a long time to kind of figure it out. And I still don't really have it figured out. But a few things I do, and going broke is not a scary thing to me. Mm-hmm. Why? Well, because, I'll figure out something. Like I know for sure it'll all work out. Mm-hmm. And it always does. I remember a family that was calling one time. They wanted money for food. Oh, we're starving. We can't eat. So I'd basically pay their bills. And I'd pay their bills for about 3 years. One day they called and asked for something stupid right after I paid for all their bills and bought them a car. They wrecked it. I bought them another car. These are one side of my family.
Okay.
And so I'm like, taking care of these people, bang, 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 bang. And so one day I said, I remember someone called me and said, because their place that I was paying for had a power bill that was like $700 and it should have been like $100 at the most. And someone said, well, they were over there and they said, turn out the lights. And they said, no, it doesn't matter. Brad pays it. And so as soon as I heard that, and then they called me and wanted money for pizza, even though I had just filled their fridge and did all that. I finally said, dude, you guys are just dumb. You're losers, and you're going to stay a loser unless I stop helping you.
Yeah, you're enabling them.
Yeah. So I said, so I'm done helping you. And they freaked out. They didn't. And by the way, then I was an instant dickhead.
Yeah. How dare you?
I helped them for 3 years, but the day I won't, now I'm a dickhead. Yeah. So anyway, I stopped helping. And it forced them to help themselves, which they said they were going to die. They said they were going to starve. They said they were going to get kicked out of their place. They said that they were going to lose their loves. None of that happened.
Yeah.
They're fine. Even to this day, they're fine.
Yeah.
They're still in existence. They're still broke, but they're living. They didn't get booted out of their apartment. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Now, could they go for more? Absolutely. But dude, that is a decision. It's just a simple decision. Believe it or not, most people aren't willing to make the decision to be successful. If I say it's just a decision, people think immediately it's not that easy. Okay, that means you have a mindset issue. Otherwise, you'd be like, oh, it's just a decision. Okay, I'll make that decision. Shit, that's easy to make a decision. Let me make the decision. Okay, I'm going to be rich. But it's not magic. It's a decision. And then once you're going to be rich, now think about who do you have to become to be that way. So let's say you want to be in shape. Let's say you want to be a, buff sumbitch. Who do you need to become in order to be buff? I need to become the guy that, eats turkey, and meal preps and goes to the gym for 2 hours a day. And, I need to be that guy. Okay. Well, there it is. So I bet you if you do, you start to become that person that's buff, and you start living like that person lives and do what that person would do, you're going to get what that person would get. So literally you have to be before you become. Mm-hmm. You have to be before you become. People are like, "What? I don't get it." You have to be who it is that would be that. So I need to be the guy that works out in order to get in shape. I need to be the millionaire before I'm going to become a millionaire. What would a millionaire do? What would a millionaire think? What would a millionaire say? Where would a millionaire go? What would a millionaire, all that. You just think, how would this person be? And if you have to read a book, God forbid, read a book, like figure it out, because I can tell anyone in the world how to get anything they want in life. It's very simple. The first thing you got to do is figure out what it is, because most people, they have no clue what they actually want.
Yeah. Let me ask you that. So is like, I want financial freedom, or I want to be rich.
What's that mean?
Like, is that too broad, ambiguous?
Very too broad.
Yeah. So
you need to be very specific.
So what does that sound like?
Specificity?
Yeah.
Well, what is rich?
So are you saying, like, so you put a number on, like, I want to earn $5 million a year.
You're getting better.
Okay.
Now you can keep going, but yeah, like specificity would be $5 million a year. It's not, I want to be rich. What's rich?
Right.
And $5 million a year. Okay, good. And then you'd keep, diving into it. Who would you live with? Where would you live? What would your lifestyle look like? What would your daily habits be? Mm-hmm. Because everything's mindset, skill set, and habits. That's the three things they boil down to. Okay, your mindset will stop you, your skill sets will stop you, and your habits will stop you. And those are usually the causes you are where you are. So if someone's rich and successful, I guarantee their mindset, skill set, and habits are there.
Yep.
If they're not, and they're broke like I was, and they were in a situation like I was, it's because of their mindset, their skill set, or their habits. So go develop your mindset, develop your skill sets, and get better habits.
Yeah. You have a morning routine. What are some of your habits that you attribute to your success?
Yeah, I have what's called $1 million morning. I wake up with the congratulations in my head, so I'm instantly grateful.
Got another day.
Right?
Yeah.
And gratitude's huge. And then I focus on 4 things: my health, okay, my relationships, because relationships are the most important thing, and my money, and my mind. So basically, I get up, I work out, eat right.
What time do you wake up?
About 5.
Okay, so you're a morning guy?
Yeah, I mean, I just wake up. I can't sleep in. So about 5. So I focus on my health. I work out. So I recommend people at least do 30 minutes of elevated heart rate, period. I don't care what they do. Well, you can't afford a gym. It's easy because you're rich, and you need to shut the hell up.
Yeah.
Like, you can do squats in the air and work out.
Yeah.
Okay. At the end of the day, get your heart rate moving, get it elevated, get your blood pumping. That's one thing. Then I focus on relationships by figuring out 5 people who I'm going to text that day, and to see how I can help them, and or just let them know, hey, I appreciate you, thinking about you. How can I help you? Anything like that.
So always 5.
Yeah, 5, sometimes 10, but sometimes 3. And if I'm honest, which I am, sometimes none. Why? Because I got busy and I forgot to. But it is a routine. It's a normal thing.
Yep.
But I text people, And then I open a book and I read at least 10 to 20 pages. And then I write down 5 things that are going to drive revenue today. So and then I say, I'm not going to sleep until those 5 things are done. So whether it's, make 5 phone calls, whatever the way you make money, go out and initiate relationships, because when it boils down to it, relationships is where every dollar comes from. Every dollar you've ever received is from some sort of relationship. So if somebody has a desire to make more money, I promise you're going to need more relationships.
Yeah, your network is your net worth, as they say.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah.
And I technically agree with that. But all dollars come from relationships. So if you want more dollars, get more relationships. Now people say, well, Brad, so you're telling people to use people? See, again, you can see it negatively, but yes, we should use each other. If I could use you to make $10 million and you could use me to make $10 million, why wouldn't we use each other?
Yeah.
People are like, oh, that's negative. That's bad. You shouldn't use people. You're listening to all this nonsense we've been taught all these years. A lot of people figure out, what do I need to learn to be rich? A lot of you need to unlearn some shit to be rich.
Yeah. I heard Naval talk about the future of business, or maybe everything and nothing has changed, but like it's putting together little teams of Ocean's 11. You got a specialist doing this here, and the guy that can crawl through small spaces over here, and you got your master lock picker, and then you got your and you put those little teams together, and you go out and you do little Ocean's 11 jobs, and then maybe you hire a totally new team, but you could say, oh, you're just using those people, but you're handpicking them to do 100%. The kind of skill and get done what you want to do. I
use Marty. I use the receptionist. They use me.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the most advanced societies and communities and civilizations do that.
Yeah. Well, it's just using people, for what they're great at, right? And if you don't feel utilized, you're undervalued, maybe that's another signal for you to, move on and do something where you can be a bigger asset.
100%.
Yeah.
Dude, I advise anyone, do not go where you're not appreciated.
Yeah.
But to get anything you want, you got to figure out what it is. Then the next thing you do is you have to figure out how to get it. Now, most people will be like, well, no kidding. No kidding. Well, do you know how to do that? I'll tell you how to do it. You find someone who's already done what you're looking to do, or they've already got what you're looking to get.
Okay.
They've already achieved what you're looking to achieve. You find someone who's already done it, and then do what they did. So that's how you figure out how to do it. So you figure out what you want. Okay, good. This is what I want. Now, how do I get that? Well, figure out who's already got that, who's already done that, who's already been there, and then ask them, read their book, study them, let them mentor you, coach you if they will. Well, what if they don't? Go to the next one, and then the next one. And people are like, well, what if no one's ever done what I'm trying to do? Well, then I don't know how to advise you there. I'm not I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't do stuff that no one's ever done before. Like everything I've done, other people have done. So, and by the way, you can be very successful doing things other people do. Just do it a little bit better.
Yeah.
And a lot of times people think, well, nobody can do what I do. It doesn't mean they can't outdo what you do. So be wise, figure out who has already done it, and then do what they did. Because like action causes like result. So that's step 2. First thing you do, figure out what you want. Second thing you do is figure out how to get it, which is find someone who's already got it. Ask them. Third thing, do the work. That's where most people will stop also. And the reason they stop is because they don't actually want what they say they want. But they think they want it, but they're not sure. Because if I told you, hey, look, I'm going to snatch your kids, I'm going to kill them unless you go do hard labor in a rock quarry for a year. You think day 2 you're going to go, I don't know about this.
Yeah. I mean, so you're all in.
You're 100%.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't even think about quitting for 5 seconds because you definitely want to save your kids. So if someone's not willing to do the work, it's because they don't really want what they claim they want. They have to go rethink step 1 and work on that, because it's very hard to figure out what someone truly wants.
Yeah. I would chime in too and just say, for people who are trying to figure out what they want to do, I think it's also okay to go try stuff on for size.
100%.
Because it looks good in the window, and then you try it on and you're like, actually, this doesn't fit.
Yeah. Worst case, quit, go do something else.
Yeah,
People always say, never quit. Dude, there's a lot of people that should quit immediately.
Yeah, there's no shame in trying and it doesn't work out.
You got to, that's the fourth one. You got to make adjustments. You got to pay attention. You got to listen to the feedback. So the fourth thing that you do is listen to the feedback and make adjustments. So when I started Lightspeed, I started a training company where I was going to be the Grant Cardone, the Tony Robbins, the Zig Ziglar.
Those are the three guys you're looking at modeling?
No, I mean, Grant, he was just a car salesman trainer. So I knew him because he was in my business and I could kick his ass all day, every day. He knows it. Matter of fact, anyway, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
So Grant was a car salesman trainer. I was going to try to be a Tony Robbins.
Okay.
You know, Tony Robbins to me, that's the king of it all.
Yeah.
You know, Zig Ziglar, you know, even Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn.
Yeah.
Not Grant Cardone, but Grant Cardone was a good car salesman trainer. And I got him too, naturally. And he helped me grow the business because of his success. So in reality, you know, Grant helped me more than Tony Robbins. But that's beside the point. I wanted to be like those guys are. And so I was going to go compete with them. Well, I started running into people saying, hey, we use, you know, Grant, or we use this person, we use that person. And so instead of fighting that and not giving up, I just altered it. I said, well, listen, if I had Grant on this technology, would you buy it? They said, yes, we would. If I had Tony Robbins, would you buy it? They said, oh yeah, if it was Tony Robbins, absolutely. If I had Zig Ziglar, would you buy it? And they'd say, oh yeah, if it was Zig Ziglar, man, I'll tell you, we'd have it right now. So I just thought, okay, let me go start selling these guys on using my software to sell those people.
Yeah.
So now I went to Grant and Tony and all these people, and I said, look, I know a platform, because I made it, which is unbelievable. And I know where customers want to buy it for a recurring monthly revenue. And by the way, this was back when no one was doing this.
Yeah.
I started in 99. There was no online learning. There was no online training companies out there.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right.
So I started the whole thing. People were like, is that crazy? Like you're basically the father of online learning. Technically, yes, I am. Now, that's making an adjustment. I made adjustments. I didn't stick to one thing. Oh man, I was going out to do this. I should have just kept, no. Pay attention. Listen to the feedback. Make adjustments along the way. You know, mold. Like if you're driving to LA and there's a car wreck, do you turn around or stop? No, man, you go around the car wreck.
Yeah, you got to adjust.
You figure out another way to get there. Simple.
Yeah.
So that's the four things. If everyone writes these down and they try to disprove me, they will only end up proving me correct. Number one, figure out what it is you want. Number two, figure out how to get it. Number three, do the work. Number four, make adjustments. Make adjustments, pay attention. You do those four things, you'll get anything you want in life.
How do you know, how do you find your audience? How do you, you know?
I don't think you find them. I think they find you.
Okay. Say more about that.
Well, I think a lot of people are trying to figure out what to say to attract people when in reality they just need to kind of be the content instead of trying to create the content.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking is, you know, a lot of people I see on this side, they have this, what they say is great idea, and they go, you know, race out to create it, spend money on, you know, whatever they're going to do to make it, you know, maybe it's a die, a mold, a prototype, put it out in the world. Here it is. And then they realize there's no demand for it. Right.
Well, then they did it wrong, because you're supposed to realize the demand before you make it.
That's what I'm saying is like, how do we find, like, so you're talking about like figuring out what you want to do, but like, how do we find the audience that aligns with what we want to do? How do you find that audience? How do you find the demand? How do you find pain points?
Well, again, I mean, you can make some basic assumptions. Like, do you want to make more money?
Yes.
Okay, so if I show you how to make more money, will you give me a little piece of it?
Okay, I got you. Okay.
Right? I can make an assumption you want more time. What if I could show you how to free up a lot of your time? Would that be worth something to you? See what I'm saying?
Yeah, so it doesn't matter what it is. It's the fundamental principle of
solving problems.
Solving the problems, yeah.
Yeah, because people don't buy products and services. They buy the result. They buy the solution. So in other words, I don't want to be trained. I want the skill.
Yeah.
I don't want to work out. I want the abs. The problem is you got to work out to get the abs. You got to, take the class to get the skill.
Right.
So people are trying to sell things when they should, make it easier for their customer to buy by selling the result, not the product. Mm-hmm. Too many people are selling the product.
So let's go back to that. How to make $500,000 right away. You said I could make anyone money quickly.
Yeah.
Break that down for us.
Well, you got to sell something.
Yeah. So
that's it. That's the big secret.
If we're come up with something today,
I'm no good at sales. I'd never be a good salesman. Dude, back to mindset, skill set, and habits. Your mindset sucks. Let's fix that first.
Yeah, you're screwed if you're there.
Yeah,
okay.
But sell something, dude. You sell something. I can give you the things to sell. I started several companies strictly to give people a job, because people would say, "Well, I don't know how to sell." Okay, here's how you sell.
Yeah. Where do you
see I don't know what to sell. Okay, here's what to sell.
Yeah. Where do you see the white space right now? Where are the opportunities?
Opportunities are everywhere, especially right now, because everybody's worried about a recession and all this and all that.
Oh, we're in a recession, right?
I don't think so, but let's say we are.
Okay.
I don't look at the numbers, and I'm not political. So when people say, "Well, Brad, when we're down by every quarter at this percentage, you're technically you're in a mental recession." That's what I say.
Yeah.
Like, I am not in a recession.
Yeah.
Everybody I know is thriving. I'm making more money than I've ever made.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's that a recession?
Yeah.
So people aren't spending. People are spending with us. People spend all the time. In my mind, there is no recession, and maybe that's why there isn't one. Mm-hmm. You ever heard about the hot dog vendor? This old man goes and buys this hot dog cart, and he goes and gets the best, relish and the best mustards and ketchups and onions and all this, and the best hot dogs and the best buns, and he starts to freaking flourish. So he goes and he opens up another one, and then he opens up another one, and now he's got 10, and then he sends his kid off to college, and now he's got 20, and then he's got 30, and his kid comes back from Harvard and says, "Dad, we're in a recession. You know that, right?" And he says, "Oh, you're Harvard educated. I should probably, not spend as much money on the meat." So he cut a little bit on the meat, and then he cut a little bit on the condiments, and then it wasn't really doing very well. So he started to, close down a couple of the carts around town, and pretty soon he had one hot dog cart that was barely staying alive. And he looked at his son and said, "You're right. We are in a recession." It's the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So where are you personally seeing opportunity? Like, for a while, everyone was interested in real estate, right?
Well, there's opportunity in real estate.
Yeah.
Still.
So where are you seeing opportunity? Like Brad's vision. Like, what are you looking at? Categories.
Well, number one, everywhere. There's opportunity everywhere. Okay. However, I think if you want to be quote unquote successful or rich financially, you're going to need to sell something. If you want to sell something, look for people to help. So look for helping people. What do people need help? Well, nowadays, especially. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's even better now because more people need help. Mm-hmm. So figure out how to help people, and you'll figure out how to make all the money you want. Now, the bigger the help, the bigger the paycheck. Mm-hmm. If you're helping people, a little bit, you're going to get paid a little bit. So now you need to help a lot of people. Okay. So you can either help a lot of people or you can help a few people.
Yeah.
That'll pay you a lot of money.
Yeah.
Just depends on how big your help is. But opportunities everywhere.
Anything specific that's on your mind right now that's like right in your purview?
Well, like right now, solar. Okay. I could show someone how to make $50,000 a month selling solar, door to door, knocking on doors. And by the way, people say, "I don't like to door knock." I can show you how to do it from a telephone. Solar. Insurance, financial services. Mm-hmm. It's made more millionaires than any other industry in the world ever. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Insurance. Go get your insurance license. I started Real Financial just to do it, and it's killing it. Merchant services, believe it or not. Mm-hmm. I started a merchant services company because I was getting racked on frickin' credit card fees. And I'm like, dude, there's got to be people out there with better deals and whatnot. So I started to research the industry. Dude, there's so many companies right now overpaying on credit card fees. It's unbelievable. And they have no clue that there's better rates out there. Matter of fact, I'm giving people 0% credit card fees. So merchant services, solar, financial, online training is blowing up. You know, it's easier, faster, cheaper, better. It's blowing up. Real estate. Like, think about 20 years ago, if I could have bought that house. Now think 20 years ago, you could have bought that house. And then 20 years ago. So today you say, oh, these houses, they're too much now. Opportunity's over. 20 years from now, you're going to say, if I could have bought that house 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, opportunity is always there if you can see opportunity, but most people they can't see the opportunity because it's disguised as risk and work. So they don't see opportunity. They see risk. That's risky. That's risky. That's work. Oh, that's too much work. That's too much risk. Geez, when am I going to catch a break?
I love it. Let's go back to sales and closing deals. What do you do? How do you close that deal where you've got maybe a few other competitors who are vying for the same spot, or you have a client who doesn't exactly see it your way? You know, you give them a proposal, a pitch. How do you close a really tough lead? You got any tips? Well,
yeah, I mean, if you're already to that point, you did something or didn't do something along the way that you should have, like build a relationship. Okay, relationships will usually outperform any rebuttal. Like, if me and you were buddies, you're probably buying from me regardless because we're buddies.
And how do you develop that relationship with someone who knows that you're also trying to sell them something?
Well, again, I mean, it just depends on how you make them feel.
Okay.
But there's no secret thing. You know, one thing's for sure, you can't close everybody.
Right.
So when people are like, well, how do you close these deals that are so difficult and they don't see the value in your product? And you don't. Like, what do you want me to say? Oh, you just say this line and they'll just drop and write you a check. No.
Yeah.
You have to build value along the way. You have to establish relationship. You have to establish credibility. You have to be in the position of an expert. Like, again, if you want to sell somebody something and you're not the expert, you shouldn't be selling it. You need to go figure out more than they know.
Yeah.
Which, with the internet, a lot of times customers know more than the salespeople do.
Well, you've already kind of said it. It's been subtle, so I'll just underscore it for whoever's listening. I mean, you're trying to close someone, then you said, if Tony Robbins was involved or if Zig Ziglar was involved, would you do it? And they said yes. So you go out and that's the tipping point. Or you talk about texting, 1, 5, or 10 people a day. Well, that's keeping your leads or friendships warm, relationships warm.
Yeah, I got a call this morning from somebody. Haven't heard from them forever. As soon as I picked up the phone, I'd say, what do they want?
Yeah.
Because they only call when they want something.
Yeah, what is it now?
Yeah, so do you have anybody like that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, everybody does. Okay, So why do you want to be one of those people?
Yeah, I don't.
I do not want to be one of those people. So I'm calling you and I'm texting you and I'm checking in on you, and I don't care whether you got money or whether you want to buy something. I'm just seeing how you doing. How can I help you?
Yeah.
And when you're ready to buy, guess who you call?
That's right.
Me.
Yeah. That's why I wanted to go back and just highlight that, because that keeping your relationships warm kind of thing, whether, it's someone you're selling to now or 5 years from now, that's a very smart, easy something to do daily. It doesn't take much effort. It just has to be consistent, and you got to be authentic. So this series is called Behind the Brand. We talk about branding and brands a lot. What is the Brad Lee brand?
I would say, believe it or not, this right here. Real.
Okay.
That's my brand.
Okay. Say more.
It's just, I think people look at me as, down to earth, number one.
No nonsense.
The people's people. Tell it like it is. Tell the truth.
Have you always been like that?
Not always, no. At some point in time, I was trying to impress everybody and, doing what everybody else does. And then I realized, number one, you're not going to make everyone happy. So if you can't make everyone happy, who do you choose? Well, me. I'm going to choose me. I'm going to make myself happy. And hopefully that makes you happy. But if it doesn't, boo-hoo, call a ambulance, right? I'm making me happy. Why? Because I'm the only one that's going to be with me for the rest of my life. And I'm the most important person in my environment. Now, most people will be like, well, dude, that's conceited. That is not conceited. Well, that's arrogant. That is not arrogant. That is intelligent. I am the most important person in my environment. I'm not saying I'm better than you or I'm more important than you. I'm saying, to me, I'm more important than you are to me. Mm-hmm. Why? Well, because I'm the one that's going to dictate whether I win or lose. I'm the one I'm the best person to help me in the world.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm the most important. I always tell people, look, you want me to introduce you to someone that can make you really wealthy or really fit or whatever. They're always like, yeah. I'm like, dude, do me a favor. I'll introduce you to him, but you got to be, you got to get your hair right. You got to everything's got to look good. He's like, oh yeah. I say, go into a bathroom, shut the door, look around, and you'll see the individual that I'm referring to. And when you do, be nice to that individual. Like, quit being such a dick to that person that you're looking at, because that's what we do. If we were our own friends, we'd kick our own ass.
Yeah.
We let ourselves down. We procrastinate. We limit ourselves. We doubt ourselves.
Yeah. We don't talk to our friends that way.
No.
Yeah.
So again, to me, I've realized at some point to be me. And if someone doesn't like it, well, that's unfortunate for them. Mm-hmm. But it's not unfortunate for me. Why? Because I don't need other people's opinion and I don't need other people's validation, because I validate myself, because I know what I'm doing every day and I'm out there helping people. I'm 100% a good guy. There's not 1 ounce of bad in me. People say, oh, come on, Brad. Dude, I'm telling you right now, ethics and integrity, 100% to the highest levels. I'm out there trying to help. I won't screw anyone. I won't frickin' rip anyone off. I say no refunds here at Lightspeed because we have a no refunds policy, but I give refunds. Why? Well, because I'm not going to keep your money if you're not happy or you don't want to do business with me. And now people are like, I've literally refunded people money and they come back a week later and give it back to me. They're like, well, this happened and that happened. And we just, we trust you. I'm like, why? They said, Brad, you said no refunds and you gave me a refund. Why? Because I don't want to screw anybody. If I can't help you, I don't want your money. Most people aren't like that. I want your money whether I can help you or not.
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to help me.
Yeah.
Well, that's because I'm most important, Brad. That's what you just said. No. That's not exactly what I'm saying. There's a big difference.
Yeah, that's that finite thinking, some zero game thinking. I agree with you. It's something I had to figure out the hard way too, which is no one's coming to save you.
That's the name of my book, and that's the reason.
Yeah.
Because I had to learn everything the hard way.
Yeah. And nobody cares. Maybe your mom does or your sister, but no one's thinking about you like you're thinking about you.
And not only that, I mean, like, a couple hundred years after you're dead, definitely no one's going to care.
Yeah.
So, like, move on.
Yeah.
Like, get on with it.
Yeah.
I would say this. Seek to make yourself happy and don't worry about everybody else. You ever heard of a thing called allodoxophobia?
No.
Allodoxophobia is what most people have. I think all people might have a little bit of it, but it's the fear of other people's opinions. And there's people that literally will not make a decision because they fear the judgment of other people. And by the way, and a lot of times it's the potential judgment. It's not even actual judgment. If I do this, my wife's going to think, my dad's going to think, my mom's going to think, so I'm not going to do this. So literally they don't quit their job. They don't start a business because they're afraid someone's going to think they're stupid if they fail.
Yeah.
Well, if you just worry about yourself and if you pretended that there was no one else on earth, you wouldn't care. That's why babies don't care. Babies will walk out buck naked, walk around a room. They don't even know that they're naked because they haven't learned that, oh, you're not supposed to be. Well, who teaches us that?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I love it. Maybe some final thoughts here. Some people will say failure is not an option. That's bullshit. I mean, failure has to be an option. You can't get to success without making some mistakes. So what are some of these failures or learning experiences? What mistakes have you made in order to get it right?
Well, I've had a million of them, but I'd argue that failures are real. Failures aren't real. Because I've failed by the definition and by what people think that means. And I learned this and I learned that and I learned this and I learned that. So the next time I didn't fail. Mm-hmm. Well, then that couldn't have been a failure because I learned what not to do. Mm-hmm. And I learned things and it helped me and I developed. So was it a failure? Right. Based on whose opinion?
Yeah.
So I don't think failure is real. I think failure only happens when you quit. So like if I try something and I failed and then I give up and I never do it again, that's a failure. And I just don't ever think that way. But to answer your question, or tell you a little story or two, but I mean, I failed a marriage. I failed, raising my kids as good as I could have. I failed spending the right investments. I failed a million ways. So personally, I think failure's a part of success.
I agree.
But not necessarily based on what everyone thinks failure means. Making mistakes, screwing up, losing, having a go at it, losing.
Yeah.
That's a part of success. So there's people out there that are fearing other people's opinions, so they don't even try, and not trying, believe it or not, is worse than trying and losing.
Agreed. Yeah. It's this idea. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And as long as you're learning from those mistakes, you don't repeat that mistake.
Yeah. And again, people say, dude, that's cliche. No, that's true.
Yeah. One of the things I learned from Tony Robbins when I sat down with him, it really stuck with me. I'm sure he said it a million times, but he's like, if you want something different to happen, if you want a different result, you got to do something different. And it's kind of what Einstein said, which is this paraphrasing of what the definition of insanity is, which is repeating the same behavior, expecting a different result. You got to do something different to get a different result.
100%.
And that's going to take making some mistakes. So what are some of these things you learned from it? Like, what are these key learnings? What are some of the takeaways? And I ask that so that you can tell people who are watching who want to possibly avoid some of the pitfalls you fell into.
I mean, I would say seek counsel,
Surround yourself with smart people.
Read, man, pay attention, read, learn, ask for help. There's a lot of things.
So you didn't do that in the past? You were kind of siloed?
Yeah, no, not at all. I didn't read very, very much at all. And now I read every day. So, when you say like, in order to change, well, let's say it like this. The reason you do what you do is because you believe what you believe.
Right.
So if you want to change what you're getting, you got to change what you're doing.
Right.
So if you want to change what you're doing, you got to change what you believe. And if you want to change what you believe, which is the only way to change what you're doing, because if you want to change someone's behavior, change their beliefs.
Right. And I can get on board with that. What is a...
But how do you change beliefs? There's only one way.
Drop a bomb. Let me hear it.
Get new information.
Yeah.
So like you could raise your kid teaching him that fire doesn't burn you. And I guarantee you that kid will get burnt by fire. But the second it gets burnt by fire, he will get new information. And you will no longer be believed because his beliefs will change immediately. Doesn't matter that you're his dad and you told him and you're trying to convince him it doesn't burn, because it does burn. And so when he sticks his hand in the fire, he's getting new information. And he will change his belief just like that. So it's the same thing with any belief system. You have to change your beliefs, whether it's religion or whether it's potential or, scarcity, whatever your belief system is. It doesn't make it true, by the way, but whatever your belief system is, the only way to change it is to get new information. So that's why every single day, that's part of my routine. I read 10, 20 pages of a book. I'm seeking new information on a regular basis.
What's a belief that you had maybe 5 to 8 years ago that you thought was completely true and that you were following that path that now you've completely, detached from? You've realized that was not correct?
I don't know. These are deep questions. I'd have to think through them to come up with a real answer, because 8 years ago, I don't know what I believe that I've changed my beliefs on.
Well, how about health and wellness? I mean, you're getting jacked. Were you doing that 5 to 8 years ago? Why are you doing that now?
Well, as I get older, I start to appreciate health and mobility a little bit more.
Relatable.
I mean, I run into people that, like the other day we were at the gym and this guy walks up and he says, well, what are you going to do when you're 54? And I said, I am 54. And he said, you're 54? Damn, I'm 54. This guy looked like he was 64. 74.
Yeah.
He was an old man. And I started to question myself. I'm like, damn, dude, am I old and I just don't see it in the mirror?
Yeah.
So that's just got me going, like, listen. And not only that, when you get older, you start to be a little smarter with things. Like here's the 3 classifications that I have of order of importance.
Okay.
The first one is your health.
For sure.
Now that over the last 8 years has increased. So that's a belief that has changed and is continuing to change. Health is the number 1, because without that, you'll give everything up to get it. Relationships are your second one, because relationships are what's going to matter when time is running out. If someone said, you got a year to live, you're not going to be thinking about your money. You're not going to be thinking about your business. You're going to be thinking about relationships.
Yeah.
So relationships, don't wait to die to learn that. The relationships are more important than money.
Yeah. I think that's the Steve Jobs regret, right? I don't know if he had regrets, but it looked pretty sad from the outside looking in that, he built this huge empire, had all these amazing products, and probably had very few friends, family,
And all his money couldn't save his health, could it?
Right.
And, but health, relationships, and then money. Now, most people say money is important to you then? Well, absolutely. Why? Because money solves a lot of problems, a lot of problems, and it solves a lot of other people's problems. And if I'm looking to help other people, which I am, would money help me help other people? 100%. So it's very important to me, money. And what's crazy is the healthier you are, the more money you can make. The more relationships you have, the more money you make. The more money you make, the more relationships you have. It's all cyclical, but at the end of the day, health is the most important. Relationships are the second most important, and then money is the third most important. Now, people will say, what about God? That's a relationship, is it not? Okay, so it's all factored in there. Focus on your health, number 1. Most important should be your health. Number 2, your relationships. And number 3, your money. Now, if that's the truth, and everybody says, okay, I agree with that, Brad, then my question is every day, are you focused on your health? Yes or no? Your relationships? Yes or no? Or in your money? Yes or no? And a lot of people, unfortunately, are going to say no, no, and no. And that's why they're not successful. And that's probably why they never will be, because they need to realize your health is most important. Relationships are the next most important. And then your money is the next most important. Focus on those every single day. Focus on those, because what you focus on grows and what you ignore goes away. So a lot of people are ignoring money. Why? Oh, he's rich. That's easy for him to say.
Yeah,
it's not.
I think you nailed it, though. I think a lot of people are in the pursuit of money. They're not in the pursuit of health or relationships. And like you said, going back to the beginning of this discussion, money, respect, all of those things are a function of the prior work. It's not it's not the goal. Money is not the goal, right? It's a function of, a byproduct of, a result of the work that you do, the good work that you do, the problems that you solve, right? But I think a lot of people are maybe got the order of operations wrong.
And believe it or not, the relationships that you have. Because if you don't have what you want in life, I guarantee you it's because you don't know the right people. And people can say, Brad, what does that mean? If you don't have what you want in life, anything, it's because you don't know the right people. Which means you don't have the relationships you need. If you wanted to be the president of the United States, it's possible with the right relationships. There are examples everywhere of what I'm saying, but there will be people listening to this going, yeah, whatever. That's because of their mindset. So it's mindset, skill set, habits. Then here it's health, relationships, and money. Focus on money. Oh, no, don't focus on money. Why would you not focus on money if you want it to grow in your life?
All right, final parting words to aspiring entrepreneurs or current people trying to grow their business and brand.
Well, as far as building your brand goes, I would highly encourage that, because it took me 20 years to build Lightspeed into an 8-figure company, and I've already built 3 more 8-figure companies in the last year with the personal brand. So the brand is very important. It can fuel a lot of everything we just talked about. So I would consistently post 3 to 4 videos every single day on the main 6 networks, which the most important of those networks would be YouTube. Okay.
What do you like about YouTube more than the other platforms?
Well, YouTube, like, have you ever got on Instagram and looked for how to build a house?
Right.
Yes or no?
No.
Have you on YouTube?
Absolutely.
Okay, so YouTube, people are searching for how to do things. Right. And if you're going to drive that traffic to money, you want to be there.
Yeah, it's a search engine. It's
I'm telling you, YouTube is the backbone of it all. So which I don't really focus on YouTube. I only have like maybe 180,000 subscribers. I've got like a couple of million on TikTok and almost 1 million on Instagram, and I don't know how many on Facebook, so I'm never on that one. But you leverage social media because it's a TV station, it's a movie company, it's a radio station right in your hand.
Yep.
So the question is, if I had a TV station, why am I not putting out any content?
Right.
And most people don't want to put out content because they don't think anyone wants to hear it, because they don't have a good opinion of themselves. So here's what I would tell people as a closing statement. If you want to raise your net worth, you have to raise your self-worth. So I would start with the number one relationship, the one with yourself. I'd go get that right. Get the relationship with yourself right. Everything works out after that.